The Golden Era. Remember a time when the Flyers had solid goaltending? How about a group of goaltenders who either finished as runners-up or took home the trophies as the league's best? Does that ring a bell? Well, it's been a very long time, so long that many of you weren't even born yet. Let's go back to the early to mid-1980s, to the golden era of Flyers goaltending. Who were they, and how did they get here? First up is Glenn Chico Resch. He came to the Flyers at the tail end of the 85-86 season, winding down a pro career that began in 1973. The New York Islanders signed him as a free agent, mainly serving in a platoon duty. He later spent time with the lowly Colorado Rockies and fledgling New Jersey Devils before coming to Philly, mainly in a backup role. Darren Axel Jensen was selected with the 106th overall pick in the 1980 entry draft by the Hartford Whalers. Jensen never signed with the Whale and instead signed with Philadelphia as a free agent. Bob Froese, or Frosty, as former Flyers commentator Bobby Taylor called him, was drafted by the St. Louis Blues in the 10th round of the 1978 entry draft, also 106th overall. The league only had 21 teams at that time, so what was the 10th round back then would only be about the 4th round by today's standards. The Blues were going through some financial and ownership issues, and Frosty was never offered a contract. In 1981-82 season, Philadelphia snatched him up as a free agent. Goran Herr Lindberg was the first European-born goaltender to be drafted in the NHL entry draft, going at 35th overall in 1979, one of the rare occurrences of the Flyers both drafting and playing a star goalie. Careers, stats, and results. Chico Resch played in 571 NHL contests, winning 231, losing 224 with 84 ties. His goals against average was a 3.27, and his save percentage was a .891, which were actually respectable numbers for back then. For the Orange and Black, he played in 22 contests, winning 7, losing 7, and tying 2. Darren Jensen played his entire career with the Philadelphia Flyers in the National Hockey League. He played mainly one season, the 85-86 season, with a cup of coffee in 1984-85. His NHL totals were 30 games played, 15 wins, 10 losses, 1 tie, .381 goals against average, and a .879 save percentage. These were pretty pedestrian numbers for the NHL at the time. Frosty's career spanned 8 seasons with 2 teams, the Philadelphia Flyers and New York Rangers. He finished with 242 games played, 128 Ws, 72 losses, and 20 ties. His career goals against average was a 3.1, and his save percentage was a .889. His best season came for the Philadelphia Flyers in the 85-86 season, where he won 31 of 51 games played. His goals against average was a 2.55, and his save percentage was a .909. If you look at it by today's standards, those numbers were pretty average, but if you look at it in the live puck era, those numbers were phenomenal. Pelle Lindberg's NHL career was entirely spent with the Philadelphia Flyers. He only played in 5 seasons, and we'll get to that a little bit later. In 157 games played, he had 87 wins, 49 losses, 15 ties, with a goals against average of 3.3 and a save percentage of .886. In the 82-83 season, the Flyers finished first in the Patrick Division, winning 49 games and getting 106 points, second in the Wales Conference. They were swept by the New York Rangers in 3 games of the first round of the playoffs. They allowed an average of 6 goals against per game in the playoffs. Pelle Lindberg was awarded to the All-Rookie team the All-Star, and the Viking Award for the Best Swedish Player. Bob Froese was the NHL Player of the Week for February 21st. In the 83-84 season, the Flyers took a little bit of a dip. Third in the Patrick Division, winning 44 games with 98 points. They were fifth overall in the Wales Conference. They were swept again, now this time by the Washington Capitals, in 3 games in the first round. They allowed an average of 5 goals against the playoffs, which is down by 1 from the previous year, and Pelle Lindbergh was the NHL Player of the Week for October the 11th. The 1984-85 season for the Flyers, they finished first in the Patrick Division, first in the Wales Conference, and first in the National Hockey League, winning 53 times and racking up 113 points. They lost in the Stanley Cup Final to the juggernaut Edmonton Oilers. They only allowed an average of 2.4 goals against average per game in the playoffs. Much better. The NHL Player of the Week for November 19th and April 9th was Pelle Lindbergh, who also was the NHL Player of the Month for March. He won the Vezina Trophy and the Bobby Clark Trophy for the team's MVP, and was an NHL All-Star and named to the first All-Star team. The 85 season saw the Flyers finish first in the Patrick Division and first in the Wales Conference, second in the NHL. 53 wins again, with 110 points. Now, they lost in the first round to the New York Rangers, but it was a little bit closer this time. They lost 3 games to 2. They averaged a 3.6 goals against per game in the playoffs. Pelle Lindbergh was again an NHL All-Star. Bob Froese was the runner-up for the Vezina Trophy. He was the NHL All-Star, the second team NHL All-Star team, the NHL Player of the Week for the weeks of December 29th, January 9th, and March 17th. He was the NHL Player of the Month for March, and he shared the Jennings Trophy for the lowest goals against average with Darren Jensen. What happened to these masked men? Lindbergh looked to be the goalie to bring the Flyers their next Stanley Cup, but tragically, that promise came to an end in the early morning hours of Sunday, November 10th, 1985. Lindbergh lost control of his Porsche 930 Turbo and struck a wall near Summerdale Elementary School in New Jersey. His blood alcohol level was 2 times the New Jersey legal limit after coming home from a team event. He was declared brain dead several hours later, and his 2 passengers were left with severe injuries. Lindbergh was on life support until his father came over from Sweden and gave the order to pull the plug. Goran Per-Erik Lindbergh died on Monday, November 11th, after a 5-hour operation to harvest his vital organs for transplantation. His legacy lives on now as the Flyers give out the Pelle Lindbergh Memorial Trophy for the most improved player on the team. He is the only person to be made an NHL All-Star posthumously. After nearly winning the Vezina Trophy the previous season, Froese found himself in Coach Mike Keenan's doghouse. Maybe Keenan was punishing Froese for Lindbergh's death. After all, Coach Keenan had previously punished Ron Sutter for his twin brother Rich's shortcomings, eventually trading Rich to light a fire under Ron. Bob Froese only suited up for 3 games for the Orange and Black in 86-87, when he was traded to the New York Rangers, now teaming with the man who hitched him out for the Vezina just a year prior, John Van Beesbroek. Spoiler alert, don't forget that name. Darren Jensen became the answer to the trivia question of who won the Jennings Trophy and never again played in the league. His job was effectively taken over by Chico Resch, and once Iron Mike Keenan is done with you, he's done for good. Jensen finished his career in the minors. Chico Resch played sparingly in both the 85-86 and 87 season, and he retired shortly thereafter. How the Golden Era graded out. So here at I Bleed Orange Forever, we have a scale which grades out where the goaltenders ranked on this era. It starts from the Roman Czechmanic unibrow, which is plain ugly, sorry Roman, moves on to the Jason Voorhees mask, which is okay but ugly, kind of the middle to low tier, to the shiny Beezer mask, which was good but not great, and then finally we have the Puck Stops Here Ron Hextall helmet, which ranks as great. This group of goalies achieves the puck stops here mark for their overall skill. While they didn't take home the cup, they had a ton of individual achievements and kept the team at the top of the league for an extended period of time. While this won't be the last time the Flyers reach the Stanley Cup Finals, it is the last time they ice a goaltending team that was consistently at the top of the NHL. So our running goalie count now stands at 4, with no retreads as of yet. So who was your favorite goalie during the era? If it was Bob Froese, please hit like. If it was Jensen or Chico Resch, share it. And if it was Pelle Lindbergh, hit subscribe. Stay tuned for the next installment titled Hexy and His Friends, coming soon. Thank you for watching.